All right.
So
Good
you're going to
afternoon, everyone.
introduce yourself. Yeah.
Okay. I hope you can all hear me. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Abdul Bala. Thank you so much, the director, ICT, Mr. Gabriel, for giving me this opportunity, for giving the operations unit at the headquarters an opportunity to be able to be part of this very important training. Um, Thank you so much to all the deputy directors and then senior managers within the department across Nigeria and even beyond. Thank you so much, Mr. Felix, for this opportunity too. Thank you so much, distinguished colleagues. I hope in the short time we're going to be having this, it will be as impactful as possible. So I don't know if you can hear me before I continue, so I can
We can hear you.
confirm. All right. So like I said, I'd introduce myself. My name is Abdul Bala. I'm a program analyst, at the headquarters currently. Um, I've not spent as much time in the service yet. Some of you, my senior colleagues. So um, respectfully would beg that wherever you feel there can be an input at the end of the class or at the end of the training, you can just include, or wherever I miss certain points, you can also contribute to it. Thank you so much. Mr. Felix, please, I'd like to share my screen while this is going. Is it possible? Mr. Felix, sir? Sorry. Okay, sorry. Please kindly just hold on for me. I'm trying to get across to Mr. Felix to be able to share my screen here. Okay. Mr. Felix, are you there, please? Guys, I feel like all right. So can we all see the screen, please?
Yeah, we see.
All right. All right. So whatever we're going to be doing in the training today might not be the entirety of everything that maintenance has to cover, but it's more or less an introductory part of it. And then it gives us a good head start as to what maintenance in the operations and in the operations unit entails, or as an ICT officer. So this is a basic computer maintenance training. It's module 1. This was actually developed for the IT students and also the new staff that we're just joining the service, or we're just joining the department, to be able to get a bit of head start even before the field experience starts coming in. So it was broken down to as much as possible so that it can be understandable to whoever is looking at it. So the training module is designed to introduce interns to the basic parts of the desktop system and essential maintenance practices. So by the end of the module, interns will have a foundational understanding of desktop components and how to perform basic maintenance tasks. and ensure system longevity and performance. So for the senior staffs or for my senior colleagues that are here, so some of the things we'll be discussing, like I mentioned earlier, you have already seen them. You've already experienced them in the field. So for you, like this might bring back nostalgia for you. Very good way of saying, oh, well, this is refreshing. So, and then for the newer colleagues, and also I believe some corpus in the department are on the platform too currently. It's also an opportunity for you to be able to get a head start. So we'll be covering basically introduction to desktop systems, definition, purpose, overview of common uses, basic parts of the desktop, central processing. So we'll be breaking them down and be taking them piece by piece, their description, their uses, and then at best, some of their applications where necessary. So we'll also be looking at other components, not just the system that comes with it, external devices, input and output, and the rest of them. So let's start from the very, very beginning. So I'd like to start from the very, very beginning to give a brief understanding of what a desktop system is. So a desktop system, also known as a desktop computer, depending on where you're addressing it from, is a personal computer. It's a personal computing device designed for regular use at single location. So unlike laptops, desktop systems are stationary and usually consist of multiple components such as the monitor, keyboard, and the main unit. So when they give you an understanding of what a desktop is, when they mention a desktop at first, you just look at it and say, just a series of computer, monitor, CPU, and the rest of them. But also there are newer versions of desktop that have come out in like the last 10 years that are all in one, that have everything built in, so that they are a bit portable. Most times when you talk about portability, comes to your mind at first. So desktop computers, as we know, are majorly stationary, and that's why the term desktop applied. But like I said, in recent years, some of them have been modified to be able to be moved here and there within the office, not outside. So here you see a diagram of a desktop, of a contemporary desktop. So what you can see is there is a monitor screen. This is around 17-inch monitor or 15, 17-inch monitor screen, a keyboard, a mouse, and the CPU. The CPU is the central processing unit. So I believe we'll know this part. And then this is now also a much more sleek desktop system. This is a Lenovo system, Lenovo business PC. It has the CPU inbuilt in here, so you don't have to have a CPU on the side. And then you could also notice that the keyboard is wireless and also the mouse is wireless. So the intentionality for this, when the design for this was made, was to make sure that wires are not moving here and there and all that. So it also has a room for wireless connection, so you don't have to necessarily put a LAN cable and the rest of them. So what are the common uses of desktop systems? So we don't just find them in the office. What are the common uses? So basically in the office, we use them for documenting, for document processing and spreadsheets. So for document processing, we're looking at Microsoft Word, we're looking at basically typing related and also document processing related applications. And then also for spreadsheets, we're now looking at Power BI, then we're looking at Excel, we're looking at applications that deals with rows and columns. So we also use systems for multimedia functions. So for video editing and graphic editing. So for the application of computer in the office is not just limited to document processing and spreadsheets. We could also use them for video editing and graphic design. So remember, part of your responsibility as an IT expert within the organization is the fact that you're also supposed to be able to provide second-hand support or first-hand actually support to officers in other departments. So for instance, I'll take an example for maybe corporate communications who deal with PR, who deal with video editing and graphics. So you need to also provide support for them. And then for that to happen, they also know how to be able to use multimedia applications on computer systems. Also for gaming, as computer, you will know that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So computer systems, desktop systems are also sometimes used for gaming, for to also relax and calm the nerves. But very importantly, as it applies to the ICT department, for software development, desktop computers generally are used for software development, to write your programs, to write your code, to analyze, to design, to develop, and the rest of them. And then also, as we know generally, to do internet browsing, and then also to communicate sub-departmental levels and then across the organization in general. So we'll be taking it bit by bit now. In the desktop, we have the central processing unit. So we'll be looking at what it entails, how it looks, and then what are the components of the central processing unit. So the central processing unit is most times referred to as the brain of the computer. That is where all the calculations take place. So an example of that is the Intel Core i7, AMD Ryzen 5, and the rest of them. So the central processing unit is referred to as the brain of the computer system because a lot of things happen. We have in there the arithmetic and logic units. We have several other units and components that work within the central processing unit to make it one central, to make it one machine that is built to accomplish several tasks within seconds. So normally some of the tasks that are undertaken by the central processing, if you give it to a human brain, yes, they can do it, but it might take years.
Oh, because the registration network is off. The co-host is not in line. Obima. No, Obima, I better go find Felix. You don't handle the schedule on you. So take care of the meeting now.
Okay, shoot.
Take care of the meeting. The facilitator is awful. So continue.
How much is our percentage if you work this?
Okay, so like Bala is back. What? Wow. Bala, can you hear us?
All right, sorry guys. My network kind of took me out there.
What
I
happened
hope
to
you can all
Headquarters
hear me
Network?
now.
Are you not in the office?
Hello, can anybody hear me?
We didn't hear you.
Yeah.
You want to tell us even at the Headquarters Network is fluctuating?
We're better off than here than themselves.
All right, guys, can you hear me? Please, can you indicate if you can hear me? I need to
We
be
didn't
sure
hear
that you
you.
can hear
Yes,
me.
we can hear you. I can hear you.
And see, Techno Spark, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead. Yes.
Mr. David, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear
I
you.
hear you. Continue.
I can hear you from Gombe.
Barely hear you guys. I'm not sure.
Bala, we can hear you now. Bala, can you hear us? Sorry, I think he's having some issues. Bala, can you hear us?
It seems his network has problem.
Yes, we can hear him. Anyway, let's just wait for him to come up.
But Mr. Felix,
Yes, sir.
please, I beg those are going to facilitate it. They should be ready before the time. Assuming like tomorrow, anybody that want to take lecture, let him be aware of the lectures taken tomorrow.
It's like
Not-
tomorrow is going to be break because of
Okay.
mosque. We are going to break tomorrow so that
All
so
right, I
that we
don't
can
really
have
know why I
rest.
can't get the feedback if you can hear me. I don't know what's happening to my audio, but Mr. David, can you just nod your head if you can actually hear me?
We
We
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Yes,
We can hear
I
you.
can hear you. I can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yes.
Yes, go ahead.
Bala, we can hear you.
We can hear
We can
you.
hear you.
Yeah.
All right, I have
Why
to
not
restart.
sign out and sign in again?
You can quit and come back again. Yes.
At the end of this exercise, we are going to take a small exam. So it's very important that you get to listen, and you need to be jotting things down, because there's going to be an exam at the end of this training. Exam in all the whole entire topic
Yes.
that has been treated so far.
But after exam certificate we issue.
Of course, we are going to issue certificate. That is not an issue. We are issuing
Fine.
certificate
Perfect.
as well.
Yes. Good.
Okay, so while we are waiting for Bala to come,
I'm back again. So I don't know if you can hear me now. Mr. David, can you?
We can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. So thank you. Sorry, the network here is a bit has been a bit off it. All right. So like as I was saying before I got yanked off, the central processing unit is referred to as the brain of the computer because of the several multiple is actually the same thing.
Hello, Bala.
Multiple
Hello, Bala. Can
operations
you hear us? Can you
it
hear
can
us? Share a screen.
perform
You can see now.
at a particular. Sorry, please, can you please mute your end so that we can actually have a smooth transmission? All right, so next slide. This is what the can someone tell us what this looks like? I'm sorry, I'm asking some of my senior colleagues.
This is a motherboard. Hello?
Anybody? What's this?
Motherboard.
It's a mother.
All right, thank you so much. That's a motherboard, modern motherboard, actually. We'll get back to that a bit later. So let's take the RAM, RAM, RAM. The RAM is the random access memory of a computer. Is also the short-term memory of the computer used for storing data that is actively being worked on. Now, you remember when you're trying to when you come to a system and then an officer is telling you, oh, this system is slow, and then the first thing that comes to your mind is that it's probably a RAM problem. That's why the thing is slow. So the RAM is like the first point of call for memory, where the arithmetic and logic unit, where the processor can take temporary data. This data is still very much available in the hard disk, like in the main storage, but for the data that the RAM requires to move, the processor requires to move at a particular time so that it can cut short the processing time and also improve speed also, and then also improve the capacity of whatever work you're doing. It accesses that resource from the RAM at first. So the RAM is like the first point of call. That's why sometimes for systems that have like large capacity RAMs, when the power goes off or you were working on a particular application, you discover that when you're turning on the system, you would see an option that for instance, the Microsoft Office, you see that, oh, to have it deleted. So it's the RAM that is doing that work for you. That data was stored temporarily on the RAM, and then within a certain period, it goes off. So sometimes if the RAM is big enough, for instance, desktop systems that use like 8 gig RAM or 16 gig RAM, yeah, they're actually systems that use 16 gig, 32 gig RAM. Those are like high graphics needs systems. You would have some of those temporary data stored for you there so that it's faster for you to be able to accomplish certain tasks and the rest of them. So an example of the RAM is the 8 gig DDR4, DDR3 actually, 16 gig DDR3 RAMs. So this is what an illustration of what a RAM looks like. So basically we just see the chip boxes and then we see the links in between them, and then also the chip tooths for the RAMs. And then what next? We're looking at storage devices. We're looking now at the HDD and then the SSD storage devices. So the RAM itself is actually a storage device, but it's a temporary storage device on its own. So whatever you're storing at the RAM, it's temporary for a certain period. After that, after a certain period, you are on your own. So storage devices are used to save data permanently. So that word permanently is key. So for instance, if you're writing like an exam or you're giving an explanation, it's very important that you're able to distinguish between temporary and permanent. There's also the registry too. Besides the RAM, there's also the registry as a memory too. But we'll also get to that much later. So the hard disk drives are also traditional spinning drives, while the solid state drives, SSD, are faster and much more reliable. So we'll have 1 terabyte hard disk drive. We also have 512 gigabyte SSD. So in terms of speed, the 512 gigabyte SSD can actually be compared in speed to 1 terabyte HDD. We'll get to understand that a bit later. So this is like a graphic illustration of what a HDD device looks like. So this is it when it's fully packed. This is it when it's open. You can see the disc, the spindle, the platter. Then also this is the actuator arms. This is the actuator itself. And then they are also, okay, as illustrated here, you can also see the power connectors, the jumper, and then this is basically how the hard disk drive looks in illustrating looks like. So this is the hard disk drive, and then this is an SSD. So for most of the systems that we currently use in IPOST, I'm not sure too many of them. I'm not even sure like any of them really have, except the laptops have SSD storage as their main storage. So this is what the SSD looks like. So now the motherboard was what we looked at initially. The motherboard is like the main circuit board that connects all the components of the computer. So an example of a motherboard is the Asus Prime B. Are all seated upon. So they are connected all on the motherboard. So wherever you're going to in Nigeria, you know, if you're going to Enugu, if you're going to Maiduguri, it's still within Nigeria. So the motherboard is like the Nigeria of the system. It holds every other state, every other tribe, every other component, both the good, the bad, the criminals, the good ones together. So this is what it looks like on the motherboard. We could actually see the processor, the RAM ports, we could see the resistors, we could see the VGA ports, we could see the USB ports, LAN ports, we could also see the auxiliary ports, and then several other components. We have also the power circuit. This is the power circuit here, and then several other components. Now, they are all in one circuit connected via links on the board here entirely. So we could also see data. These are data pods. So these data pods, you can have multiple storage devices that access data that is being processed in this motherboard or on this motherboard through here. And then you have input and outputs all together. So we are next looking at the PSU. I hope I'm not too fast. Mr. David, Techno, I hope I'm not too fast. So I'm just trying to run through this because, all right, so these are like basic, this thing is more or less refreshing our brain. So the PSU is the power supply unit. The power supply unit converts electricity from an outlet into a usable power for the computer's internal components. So we can have a 500 watts power supply unit. We can have a 750 modular power supply unit. Now, the power supply unit of your system is dependent on several factors, which also includes the processing need of your systems. It's very important that when you're getting a power supply unit or when you're replacing a power supply unit for a system, you also know what the processing capacity is for your system, which is very important. So normally we refer to the power supply unit as the power pack. So for desktop units, we have this as the power pack. This is what we know as the power pack. It has the fan, it has the cables, and then it has the conversion units inside here. And then also this is also the power pack for, on the right hand side is the power pack for the laptops. So normally you would want to call that an adapter, but it's also a power pack for some desktop systems actually, and then also for the laptop systems. So we now have the GPU. The GPU is the graphic processing unit. It is responsible for rendering images and videos, and it is crucial for gaming, video editing, and then other graphic intensive tasks For instance, when you're rendering images using Power BI, it's very important that you have a GPU, a graphics processing unit on your system that has a capacity to move as fast, and then also has a loading quality as you would want to prefer when you're interpreting your data, or when you're interpreting your graphs and the rest of them. So example of a graphics processing unit is the NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660, and then also we have the AMD models for the graphics processing unit. So this is what a typical graphics processing unit looks like. Now, for most of the systems that we use in NIPOS, most of the desktop systems we use in NIPOS, they don't necessarily require external or enhanced graphics processing units, but this is what one looks like. For some of us that deal with graphics related softwares on our system, we know that there's a need for these in the desktop systems. So a quick recap of what we have looked at so far up coming to this point is illustrated in this diagram. So in this diagram, so I don't know if I can ask anyone to please identify some of the illustrations that are here. Anybody in the class that can quickly identify some of these things for us? One person. And then there's definitely a recharge card coming for you. Anybody? Alhaji Benji, David, Hansi, anybody?
Yeah, the first one is CPU.
So if you can actually get all of this correctly, there is data coming to you straightforward. All right, so let's start from the first one.
CPU, Central Processing Unit.
Okay.
The second one
What's
is
another name? What's a more general name for this?
General name?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello? All right, so what's a much more general name for this?
Processor.
All right, thank you. Next.
The next one is a floppy disk. Sorry.
Flash drive.
Flash drive.
All right, what's the flash drive used for?
For storing.
For storing.
All right.
The second one, the middle one, is a disk.
It's a floppy disk.
Floppy disk. All right, thank you. That's for some of our daddies and our mommies that use this.
The fourth one is a fan.
All right.
No, it's power.
Fan. It's a fan.
Okay.
For the fan. The fifth one is a
RAM. The RAM.
Oh, it's a RAM.
Okay.
Well, this is hard disk. That is solid hard disk, SSD. Well, the other one is
memory.
compact disk. And the last one.
Okay.
Well, the last one.
And then what is this one?
That's what I'm trying to recognize. There's a fan attached to it. And well,
are you booting?
The last one is PSU that can supply convert this thing into from the power, supply power. Yes.
A what?
It's PSU. It's power supply.
I really didn't get that. I don't know if it's my network.
Oh yes, I say it's PSU. That is power supply.
All right, but either ways, thank you so much. You All right, thank you so much. Network took us out again, but we're back yet again. All right, so please, who answered the question for us? Is it Mr. David? Was it Mr. David? So I know who I'm owing a recharge card.
It's Mr. David. No, it's Pakai. It's Pakai. It's Pakai.
No. I know the voice I was hearing. It was not Pakai. It was Mr. David for a larger part.
Yeah, it's Mr. David. The first one is Mr. David. Exactly.
All right. So please, Mr. David, my number is on the WhatsApp group, or you could send me a direct message here, like a direct message in the chat in the comment section of your phone number, so that I can send your recharge card to you. Thank you so much. So quickly, now we come to maintenance proper. All right. Just give me a second. All right, so we are here in the maintenance proper now. So, for instance, you're called as a support officer to go to a system to go and check out what is wrong with the system, and then the officer come, sir, I just came, turned on the system this morning. I don't know what is happening on the system and the rest of them. So some of the officers do get like that. So normally, anomalies that can happen to systems are there are dust and debris that can accumulate inside the desktop system, the case, and then this can lead to overheating, and then it can also lead to hardware failure. So for instance, that's why when you first of all come to a system and then, for instance, it's not powering on, it's powering on, but it's not displaying on the screen, your mind immediately goes to it that it's the RAM. You need to bring out the RAM and clean it a bit. But you don't just have to stop there. You also have to look at the entire system setup. That's why your blower comes into play. Because for the RAM to be able to pick up dust to the extent that it will make it to start malfunctioning, it means that there's been an excess accumulation of dust within that system at a particular time. So even as much as you plug in the you remove the RAM, clean it and plug it back, and then it turns on, you also need to make sure you blow out the dust in the entire system. And then it's just unconventional that most of the systems, I've not been to several states, within NIPOS, you find them on the floor. The central processing unit is sitting down on the floor. And then once this is on the floor, once the cleaners come to work in the morning, they just sweep, and then the dust that comes, so you can't say it styles, it doesn't raise dust, it does raise dust. So if you look at it down to the most molecular level, you will see that it does have dust, and then this dust goes into the system, and then sometimes causes overheating, and then also causes the blank screen that you see when you come to a system that is not displaying. It's coming on, but it's not displaying. And then also systems that you turn on and then you hear that pong, pong, pong sound. That's the RAM complaining that, okay, there's something. It might be the RAM itself that is backing up, but most cases, it is the dust that is accumulated on the RAM, the tooting between the chipset on the between the chip port on the CPU, on the motherboard, that you'd have to clean and then take it out. So dust and debris can accumulate inside the desktop case, leading to overheating and also hardware failure. So what's the procedure? Like we said, you use a compressed air, which is the blower, to clean the interior of the case, especially around the fans and also the vents. So the overheating part is, normally the fans that you're seeing are not supposed to cool the system. They are supposed to take out heat from the system, because how do you know a processor that is functioning? Let me ask the question. Let's see who the next person to get a recharge card is. How do you know a processor is working in the system? Anybody? And see, you can answer now. So I know it's you. Yes. But the first one is.
Come on. It will come up, voting. Hello?
Hi, Mr. Omar, I can hear you.
Yes, a processor that is working, as soon as you power your system, it comes up working, booting. So as soon when it did not boot, then that processor has a problem.
Okay. That sounds like it, but it sounds like you saying A is for Abacha and A is also for Atlanta, which is very correct. But I still feel there is a part that you're missing? Okay, physically, let me rephrase the question. Physically, how do you know a processor is working without looking at the monitor screen? Abdul Salam, you are raising your hand. Please, you can answer. Thank you so much, Mr. Umar.
Yes.
Abdul Salam, you can go on, please.
Can I try again?
All right, Mr. Umar, you can try again because Abdul Salam, I think, is having difficulties with his audio. All right.
Okay. When the processor is working, the fan will start to spin.
That's close. It's still close. There's just something that I still need. There's a term
Hello?
that I need you to.
It will beep.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
No, okay. We're hearing you, Benji.
Yes.
Shehu.
If you want the processor is working well, when you just touch the power, it will sound. You will hear the sound that's starting. So when it has come to the level of when it has come to the level of that you for you to know that the central processing is working, it will stop sounding. Then the motherboard will now bring out the icons so that you can be able to know that your system is working well. Yes.
Mr. Malashew, you use style to pass jam. You use style to pass jam. You cannot use style to get this recharge card today.
That is how the central processing unit that will show that it is working properly.
If we're to score you now, Mr. Umar Mala Umar has more scores than you. If we're to score you, Mala he's closest to the answer than you. Thank you so much. Anybody else trying? Mr. David, are you trying? Your mic is off.
It run faster.
All right. Can't really hear. He's breaking.
Yeah, run faster, very fast.
I runs faster. Thank you so much, everybody, for contributing. But my recharge card stays with me. If I'm supposed to give this recharge card to anybody, it's going to be Malam Omar. But what I would love to hear, for you to know if processor is working physically, it becomes hot. That's why you have the on it. So let's go back to that image of the motherboard. All right, so on this image of the motherboard. All right, so we see that, so this is the processor holder. This is where the processor stays. Now, usually on a typical motherboard, you will notice that there is a fan seated on this place. That's why you have a fan seated on this place. For you to know that the processor is working, there's an exchange of data, there's processing going on, it becomes hot. Very hot, very, very hot within a few seconds. And then that's why there's the whole thermal paste thing, there's the whole fan over it. So the fan that is there is not supposed to bring air inside to cool it. It's supposed to extract that heat out. So that's why on a desktop system, you discover that you're having two fans. One that extracts the heat directly from the processor and brings it out to the casing, inside the casing, and then another fan that is now at the back, that now takes that the heat within the casing out of the system. So for you to know that the processor is actually working, it becomes very hot without looking at the monitor screen. It becomes very hot. A processor can actually still be working and then not display on the screen. That's why where your RAM comes up. So when you say it displays on the screen, that's why I said your answer is not complete there. Because the processor can be working, but it doesn't display on the screen. If it doesn't display on the screen, it can be your VGA cable, it can be your VGA port, it can be your RAM, it can be another thing, but it's not specifically the processor. So in your diagnosis of a system, how do you know if the processor is working? It gets hot normally. So the recharge card will go to Mr. Umar. He got closest to it. So quickly, let's move on.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay, so you used a compressed air or blower to clean the interior of the case, and then especially around the fans and then the vents. Now, you will not really know What heat is a very, very, forget that you're saying that is a computer. Heat is a very, very important factor that affects the system. Heat, that heat. That's why even the power pack, if you could see on the picture of the power pack, is having a fan, because you don't want the situation whereby the accumulated heat from inside the system now come and join with the heat inside the power conversion, and then you now find out that the cables start melting. So you know that you notice on systems that their power pack just packs up, and then it looks like it's winch, or it looks like ICT did not buy like the right gadget or something. Sometimes it could be overheat that causes it. So it's a very, very important factor. Heat and dust, they are very, very important factor when it comes to system maintenance. Then next, we're looking at update issues. So keeping the operating system and software up to date is essential for security and performance. So you would notice and agree with me, for most especially systems that are operating on newer Windows, for instance, Windows 10 and 11 upwards, they require updates steadily. And then sometimes when those updates are not when the system is not up to date, when the operating system is not up to date, we discover that certain things start malfunctioning within the system. When I mean certain things, I mean sometimes you discover that there's a system, the mouse is not working, but when you connect, that is a trackpad for the laptop is not working, but when you connect an external mouse, you discover that it's working. Sometimes you discover that you don't see icons, you don't see like icons in the taskbar. Sometimes that could be update issues. And then also you can also it will interest you to know that some of the much modern systems, if the if this operating system is up to date, when I say up to date, I mean up to like last week, you probably don't need an antivirus on it, because some of the virus-related issues have already been addressed in those updates. So all those update patches that your system comes on, and then your Windows 10 said you want to update, and then you say later, you keep on saying later. Those are very, very important. So keeping the operating system and software up to date is an essential. It's essential for the security and then also for the performance of the system. For some of us that have attended to offices that are using graphics-related applications on the system, we discover that sometimes just a simple update fixes graphics or resolution issues that those systems are having. So procedure: regularly check for and install updates from the operating system and software vendors. Now, I know for some of our systems within the headquarters and then in some of the states, once you're connected, the updates run silently. But sometimes as ICT officers and then as first respondents, it's important that even if it's not updates that took us to the system, and as far as there's internet on that system, let us check the level of up-to-dateness of that system and then run an update for it, so that it can be up to date security-wise, it can up to date performance-wise. And so hardware checks, periodic inspections can help identify and prevent potential hardware issues. So we don't necessarily need to be waiting every time for let them bring complaints. We can be much more proactive. So when they are bringing complaints, it means we're being reactive. So sometimes it can be overwhelming when you have to deal with 3, 4, 5 systems at a time based on reaction. But if you schedule periodic maintenance calendars or systems within your stations, you will discover that you are ahead of the curve. So before the problem comes, you're already identifying it. So when I mean periodic inspections and also hardware checks, it means you're coming to check the system for dust, for most of them that are sitting on the floor, for even the systems that are up, you will still have issues. You will discover that systems that are in offices that have rug in them, rug carpets in them, break down more often due to overheating and dust-related issues than systems that are in offices that have just tiles. So it's just pure logic. More dust, a rug carpet stores more dust. And then when you're sweeping a rug carpet, you have more dust in circulation within the room than on the tiles, accumulated dust than on the tiles. So it's very important that we do regular inspections and also help to identify and prevent potential hardware issues. So how do you do that? You check the connections, the cables, make sure they are all in put, ensure components are securely seated, and then also listen for unusual noises. So that is where Malam, is it Malam Sheu or Malam Ningi's suggestion that you hear a sound ping ping, so you don't have to really wait for that sound. just check for an unusual noise. Check ahead. You know how the fan should go normally. So check for it. And if a fan is sounding somehow, it's either the bearing is having issues, it require, and then you don't change fans most often for desktop systems. You're required to just change them, and that's why they are cheaper in prices than the rest of them. So normally backups, regular backups to prevent data loss in case of hardware failure or other issues. You discover some officers say, as you are taking my system, we have document to, if the document loss is ICT, we will hold, and the rest of them. So you have those issues. So you have to be able to prevent these backups by backing the data of these said customers, of these officers, up on an external hard drives, and then before you run anything that requires operating system or requires a much more intricate diagnosis for you to be and troubleshooting for you to be able to solve. So backup systems regularly. So also advice too. I know it's not like too much in the culture of the ICT within NIPOS for departments to have like external hard drives dedicated to storing data. The departments or units to have external hard drive dedicated to storing data, but it's very important so that monthly they can back up like for whatever they had for the month or for whatever they've had since the beginning of the office, back them up in that and then keep it. So when next month comes, you run the backup on the same device, and then it backs it up to date, so that even if there's a breakdown, a system is bound to break down at any time. It's a machine. It won't tell you. Sometimes it gives signs, sometimes it doesn't. So it can break down. So you have to be ahead of the curve so that you prevent data loss in some of your stations. So procedure, use external drives and cloud storage solutions to back up the important data. I know very soon, like the director has been informing us, that would be moving wholly and entirely to cloud-based storage, cloud-based operations for our applications, for our work, and the rest of them. So you could back them up on external devices, physical, or you can also back them up on cloud storage devices. Cloud storage is still physical storage, but it's just that they are much more dedicated storage systems, multiple thousands of storage systems in a safe location with the right condition to be able to back it up. So that's just basically the cloud system. So protecting the system from malware and unauthorized access is crucial for data integrity. We all can agree to that. And then how do we do that? We make sure there are antiviruses installed on the system, antivirus softwares, then use strong passwords and also enable firewalls within some of those systems in our station. So this is very simple and straightforward. The antivirus not only helps you to take out viruses, it also helps prevent the viruses. And then, like I also said earlier, if the system is up to date, for instance, Windows 10, if it's up to date, you might not necessarily require an antivirus because there are patches that are already available security-wise to be able to take care of intrusion from external or whatsoever, and then let them use stronger passwords. So don't just say Hansi or Saminu or Aminat is the password. You could actually, for instance, if it's Aminat you want, you could do @ash or @*Amina, or put in numbers. Just make it slightly a bit difficult, and don't you know the rule, don't use your date of birth, don't use your wedding anniversary, don't use your ATM number and the rest of them to do the password. Just make it a bit difficult, but don't make it so difficult for attackers that you not make it difficult for yourself. Maybe you go and put percentage, hashtag, iPhone, asterisk, and then plenty like that. Only you will come, and then you will not be able to enter into the system. So that's the end of like the first part of introduction to system maintenance. And then over time, like the director has said, we will be going into this and delving into them much more intricately. And then we can now attend to particular problems per particular class, and we're able to resolve them. So I hope I was able to not move too fast, and then I was able to also bring a bit of refreshment to how basic parts of system, desktop, and the rest of them are. So thank you so much. I don't know if you have any questions before I hand over back to Mr. Felix.
You're welcome.
It's open for questions, please. If you have any questions, you can unmute and then ask your questions before Mr. Felix takes over. All right, so, okay, Mr. Umar, please can we have your question?
Yes, well done, sir. It's a very great lecture you have given, and
Thank you.
it gives us more exposure about maintenance. So, and the question I want to ask is about the system for all the time requesting for press F1, and especially, you know, nowadays we don't have our UPS is not working too well, and when power goes off, you tend to lose some information if you have not updated your savings. And when you want to boot, it's requesting press F1, F2, and so on and so forth. How can we be able to check this problem?
Okay, thank you so much, Madam Umar. Very rightly, like you have said, the UPS is like the very first defense for that. Once a system, once the motherboard of a system experiences sudden power outages over multiple period of times within its lifespan, you're bound to have such issues. And then when it's asking you to click F1 so that it can boot, it's just because it is the system or the OS on its own part making a dying effort to be able to help your system. So more times, very importantly, more times that you don't even have, there are systems that you don't have that F1 pop up, within no time, your motherboard packs up. So that F1 prompt that you're getting to click before the system boots is just a leniency on the part of the BIOS of the operating system to help you to be able to have the system come up in a much more normal way. So the only way to avoid that is to have not to shut down the system more often, normal procedures for shutting down the system. And then, like you said, power outages are common in Nigeria and then in our workplaces that it becomes difficult for you to be able to shut down. So the best part to have that result is to shut down the system more often. So if it is not due to power outage, it's just due to officers just pressing the power button on the CPU to just turn it off, that's a huge problem. So the more time you do that, you keep running into that issue. But the best way to have that result is to shut down the system properly. Because even if you have the CPU, the UPS connected, it still doesn't help. Because if you have the UPS connected, and then you still press the power button direct like that on the system, you still experience the same issue. So the best way to do that is to shut down the system using the shutdown option while you're closing the system. That's just the best way. But any other thing that could help is the UPSs. And then we know we are limited in our capacity to have UPSs within the organization. But thank God for the new PMG. We hope that in the purchases that will be done really soon, that will probably have UPSs come with them to be able to go past some of these issues. But in other climes too, that issue can also result due to the CMOS battery. If your CMOS battery is down or have or it's having issues, you could also have that. But more often, it's because of the frequent power outage, sudden power outage issue. So I hope it's clear enough for you, Malamba.
Yes, thank you very much. Sir.
All right. Any other question?
For now, well understood.
All right, so I'll take that we are all good, and then the people that I'm owing airtime and data, please, I hope you have sent your messages in the what do they call it, in the comment section, so that I can take your numbers and send the messages to you. Thank you so much. I don't know, Mr. Felix, are you in here with us?
Thank you. Not online.
All right, Mr. Felix, are you here with us?
Felix is not online.
Oh, all right. So I don't know if they're okay. I have to listen through the YouTube page since I didn't get the audio here. That's Bella. All right, Bella. So sorry that you didn't get the audio. I hope Mr. Felix can have the YouTube version available for us with the audio intact so that you can catch up on some of the things you missed. Thank you so much. I don't know while Mr. Felix is away if there are anybody with questions. I could still entertain
Okay,
that.
I'm here. Sorry.
Okay. All right, Mr. Felix is here. He went to quickly eat food at Biobac and is back. So, Mr. Felix, we are done with our class.
No, not really.
Thank you so much for the
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Bala.
That was a comprehensive one.
Yeah, that was a good one. Okay, so I'm very, very sure that you enjoyed the class for today, and it was very exciting.
Yes, sir.
And very refreshing. Thank you, Mr. Bala, for doing justice to that.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for the privilege.
Yeah. Okay, so we are going to have a break for tomorrow. We are going to have a break for tomorrow. So tomorrow, we're holding the classes, right? Because of our Muslim brothers, so that they can have time to concentrate on the prayers for tomorrow. So we may not be holding classes for tomorrow. However, we still have pending. So in the next 10 minutes, I'll just maybe ask one or two questions in respect of the Excel, something that we talked about the very first day that we opened, right? So I'll just kind of okay, let's leave that for another day. So at this point, let's close the meeting for today so that we can all go back to our respective job schedule. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mr. Felix.
Very good
Have a nice day. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye for all.